Recording in progress. All right. Good morning, everyone, and thank you very much for joining our webinar today. Um, so we're just gonna get on the way. I can see that quite a number of people are joining. Probably if we give them a few sec, but I'm very sure they're gonna join us as we go. Okay. So today we're just gonna be talking about how to navigate the new PMP exam, because the exam is actually evolving. A lot of things are changing about the exam. So it's going to be good for us to have conversation about what is changing. And then if you've got any question, I will answer to the best of my knowledge. Okay, so there are some of those questions that I may not have answers to. Okay, so just to check that everybody can hear me, please, if you can hear me, please, can you type yes or something? Yes. Good, 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 good. Fantastic. Thank you very much, everyone. Really appreciate that. Okay, so today I'm going to be your host. So we're going to be talking about the changes in PMP. My name is Deji Ariyo, and a little bit about myself. I'm a trainer, I'm a consultant. So I'm a PMP holder myself for many years now. So I do a lot of work around PPM. So, but today it's not about teaching PPM itself. It's about talking about changes to the exams, changes to pinboard content, and all of those. So, just to let you know how today is going to run, it's going to be 1 hour approximately. Yes, taking questions. I would like to take the questions at the end. So if you've got any question, you can just drop them in the chat. So later on, I will go through the questions and make sure that I answer every question. But sometimes I may not have answers to your question, and I will let you know that I do not have answer to the question for now. We're going to research or go find the answer to your question and get back to you. So please send your answers no, sorry, send your questions in the chat. Or when I finish the presentation, if you've still got any question, I'm going to open the floor for you to be able to answer, for you to be able to for you to be able to ask the question. Okay, the video, this session is being recorded, so it's going to be uploaded on our YouTube channel. So at any point in time, if you have any connection issue, don't worry, you're going to have access to it at the end of the session. Okay, the presentation slides, I'm very sure we should send it to everybody that attended as well. So whatever I'm going to be presenting today will be sent to you later on. And if we cannot answer all your questions or you forget any question that you were supposed to ask, please do get in touch with us after the webinar itself. We will be happy to take your question. Okay, so what are we going to be covering today? Three major categories of what we're going to be covering today. Number one is the pinbook itself. So the pinbook is changing from the seventh edition to the eighth edition. Seventh edition was last updated in 2021. So now it's 2026. So 5 years ago, a lot had changed, and we all know COVID happened and quite a number of things that happened in the world as well. So which is kind of driving the changes to the pinbook. The exam as well is changing, and then we're going to talk about the rep ATP kind of scenario and what option we've decided to go with as an organization operating in Nigeria. Okay, so three major categories to go through: PMBOK exam and the rep ATP stuff. So let's start with the PMBOK. Okay, so the PMBOK number one, as you know, the PMBOK is the project management body of knowledge from the PMI US, okay, USA. The current one, which is the eighth one, is, according to the PMBOK itself, is the most evidence-based revision to date. I've been with PMBOK like the third edition or second edition, so it's been a long time. I've seen a lot of evolution over the years. So the current one used about 48,000, approximately 50,000 data points from people who are practicing, from people who have experience in delivering projects, delivering programs, delivering portfolio across the globe. So a lot of insight coming from different part of the world. So it's the most complete to date. In the next 5 years, next 3 years, things may change. But as of today, that is the best we can have. Okay, so what do we have in the eighth edition? Number one, we've got the updated definitions. So the initial aspect, the first aspect of the textbook itself talks about some foundational terms. For example, they're talking more about outcome. So I'm just going to focus on that outcome. They talk more about outcome. I'll come back to that later on, very, very soon. Because when I started my career as a project manager, I remember there was so much emphasis on output. Whatever deliverable you've been asked to do it, deliver it within time and budget, and make sure that you deliver the right scope of work. But now things are really moving away from the output kind of thinking to the outcome kind of thinking. Okay, so that is one of those things that you're going to see uh, quite visibly within the new PMBOK. And then the new PMBOK still carries on from the principles. So in the seventh edition, we have the principles. So we still have the principles. So now we've got 6 core principles, which are pretty much like mindset. So when you're working as a project manager, you've got to have some things at the back of your mind, or every decision, every action, any behavior you demonstrate within your project, we expect them to be underpinned by the core principles. I mean, as the name suggests, principles. So principles are guiding obligations that should guide our thoughts, that should guide our actions, and should guide our behaviors. So 6 core principles that cut across the entire project life cycle. So irrespective of where you find yourself within the project life cycle, you're going to need to always act in accordance with the principles. Okay, so the other part of the of PMBOK that had changed is in name only, because we've always had these process groups. We used to call them process groups, but now they've stopped calling them process groups. They have become focus areas, because as a project manager, you're going to need to initiate project, because people will ask you for something, and when those things come in, there are some things that you need to do at the beginning, and then next, after you do those things, when you clarify what needs to be done, then you've got to plan the work. All right, after you plan the work, you've got to execute, monitor, and control. But it's not that neat, isn't it? Because when you look at these three aspects: planning, executing, monitoring, and control, that can go on in loops, forever. So we can have a lot of loops. So we can keep going back to planning, doing, monitoring, and controlling, then planning, doing, monitoring, and controlling, then planning, doing, monitoring, and controlling, depending on what we know about the work that had been delegated to you. All right. Generally, we've got those 5 process groups: initiate, plan, execute, monitor and control, and close. Because after the entire stuff, we've got to close the project itself. Flexible, so you can arrange them whatever way you want. I'm going to come back to that, because I took a screenshot of those process groups from the new PMBOK. So I'm going to be showing us how that looks today, and how they expect you to understand that. But today it's not about teaching the PMBOK itself. It's just to quickly talk about what has changed. Like I said, this is the new structure. So we've got that initiating, planning, executing, monitoring and controlling, and closing. So we've got those going on. But as a project manager, we expect you to have competencies. So one of those competencies that we expect you to demonstrate in any project that you are handed are the technical competencies. So we call those technical competencies. I will come back to them later. I've got a slide to explain what is happening there. We've got the process groups, and the way they work is you're going to be given some work to do. Let's call that SOW. That's the statement of work. Or you're going to be given a contract. Contract, maybe you've just won contract from your client and you need to execute the contract. So whichever way it comes from, let's assume that comes from external space, and that comes from internal. So that would trigger your starting the project, which is initiating. Quite a number of things to do in initiating. You're going to see them here. But the most important thing is that PMBOK provides the detail of the task, of the actions that you need to take, and even the tools that you need to use to do those things. And at the end of doing those things, the documents that you need to produce. Because as a project manager, there's no way you're not going to produce document, right? So after that, if you get approval, so there will be approval. There's always a gate there. So let's assume that we've got project steering committee. So the project steering committee will make decision, that go no go decision. So if that decision is made to go ahead, then we can't get into this loop. Like I said, so that loop can keep going on and on and on forever, depending on what we know about the project itself. But planning, executing, monitoring, and control, they overlap. In fact, personally, I could have extended monitoring and controlling everywhere, because monitoring and controlling is actually everywhere. Even when we're initiating the project, we need to write a report, so you cannot just initiate the project without monitoring what you're doing within initiating. So monitoring and controlling actually cuts across everywhere. I do not know why they drew that diagram like that, to be honest. It's kind of not fully true. All right. We're just going to take it as it is. Initiating, planning, executing, monitoring and controlling, and closing. So that's how you manage a project from point A to point B. And all the associated processes, there are 40 of them right now, 40. So if we number them 1, 2, 3, 4, so at the end of the day, you're going to get to number 40. So there are 40 sub processes across those 5 focus areas. We used to call them process groups. Okay. So that has changed. Within PMBOK. So we've got some definitions. The principles are still there, and they are the core mindset that we expect project managers to have. Then we've got those focus areas. Then next are those deep technical expertise areas. That we expect every project manager to have. So as a project manager, we expect you to be a governance expert. We expect you to be a scope or requirement engineer. We expect you to be a scheduler, be able to create schedule and manage schedule. We expect you to be a finance manager. Sometimes it's finance for non-financial. So when you see some financial figures, you should be able to interpret them and understand what is going on within your project. And absolutely, you need to be able to manage stakeholders and manage resources and manage risk. So these are 7 domain areas. So these 7 domain areas are pretty much your core technical expertise as a project manager. It used to be 9, then they got it to 10. When I wrote my PMP, they were 9. Then later on it became 10, and then now up to 7. No matter how they repackage it, it's still the same thing, because what made it 10 at that time, they've added them to governance. So governance kind of comprises of like three of them together. All right, but when you attend the course, that will make more sense to you. Right. So now we've got 7 performance domain areas that every project manager must be able to do, so that means you must be an expert in each of them. Then we've got some expanded areas in the appendix, and some of them just cut across the entire textbook or the PMBOK itself. So one of those areas is AI. I'm very sure we all know about AI, at least GPT. We all know GPT going on around the world. So project managers cannot escape. You cannot escape AI. So you're going to use it. People will use AI for you. They're going to use AI on your project. You're going to use AI to automate part of your project, even to write some report or to make sense of a large amount of data. So most important thing is that you cannot escape it. It's here to stay. All right. So there is a particular aspect of the PMBOK where they talk about AI and what you can do with it. All right. And the next is sustainability. I'm very sure if you are in my part of the world, where I am right now, normally it shouldn't be this hot, but it's so hot. This week has been so hot, and I'm very sure if you're in Nigeria as well, it may have been raining cat or dog, even more than we expected. Things are changing. So whether we believe it or not, our climate is changing. So we need to be more responsible. We need to be more intentional in the way we destroy or we take care of the environment. because sometimes we are so much focused on profitability that we forget about the damages that we're doing to the environment. So when we find ourselves within project, we need to make sure that we're thinking about people, we're thinking about profit, and we're thinking about the planet. So we need to balance those. So we cannot just overly focus on the profit and forget our planet. So, for example, in the UK, net zero, so you've got to think about the sustainability aspect of your project. So sometimes that can increase our cost, but when we think about it, it protects our planet and makes our planet, or puts our planet in a shape that our grandchildren will at least meet something. All right. So as project manager or project managers, the PMBOK expects you, the eighth edition, that you've got to focus a lot on sustainability. So AI, sustainability, and another area that has been added is the product management. Though that was in the seventh edition, because when we look at the entire life cycle of a product, within a product we can have in fact an entire portfolio covering a product. And within a product life cycle, we can have multiple programs and multiple projects. So as a project manager, you may find yourself being responsible for just one of those projects within a product life cycle, or one of those programming. You are working within a program within the life cycle. But generally, a product life cycle in its own right can contain as many projects and as many programs as possible. So how do all of those, the project, the programs within a product, how do they all tie up to the portfolio objective and the strategic objective of the organization? So they expect you to have that holistic view of how projects are managed. And that's one of those principles that they expect you to have. Adopt a holistic view. Because in my own experience, we've seen a lot of project managers. They've got this narrow view of their project. They just focus on whatever they've been asked to do. They do not really understand how those connect to different aspects of the organization, and they do not even think about, for that deliverable to work and for the outcome to be achieved, because we said this is more focused on the outcomes. So how many other elements or components within and outside of the organization must change at the same time for us to be able to deliver the benefit or the value that we want to deliver to our customers? So we expect project managers today to be product minded, to think about value, to think about outcome, to think about benefit. So the PMBOK guide 8th edition kind of puts all of those together. Like we said, this is the most evidence-based to date. 48,000 data point. That is amazing. So the people that put it together, they've done very good work in making sure that project managers are provided with almost everything they need to succeed in this world. Then the rest is just for you to expand on them. So the 8th edition is wonderful, which is gonna start by July 9th. So for people writing exam from July 9th, your exam is going to be based on the 8th edition. But like I said before, if you've got any question, please drop them in the chat, or you're going to have the opportunity to ask the question at the end of this session. So like I said before, the entire point for the PMBOK guide is to equip all of us project professionals, whether you're managing project or you're managing programs or you're managing portfolio, because whatever level you find yourself, those advanced level, you're still looking after project managers. So it provides us with that playbook that we can use to really help make sense of projects within our organization. Okay. So like I said, what has changed in PMBOK? Three major things. I'm just quickly gonna re-emphasize, though I've emphasized the three of them actually. But from that output to outcome, that one is quite important. Output to outcomes. Before, the entire in fact the focus of project managers is on output. Some people call it output, some people call it deliverables. For people that have done Prince 2, they call it product. So whatever they call it, but I'm not going to call it product here. Let's just stay with the output or deliverable. So you may be a project manager for CRM. So you are implementing customer relationship management system, or you may be a project manager for BPR. That's the business process reengineering, or you may be a project manager for HR reorganization or organizational redesign, whatever, So you can't be handed any project. So in most cases, these project managers, they focus on whatever they've been handed. So they do not really think holistically, right? And if you do not think holistically, we may not be able to realize the outcomes that we're looking for, because these outcomes will be realized in BAU, that is in business as usual or operations, after we deploy, because this is deployment. So we're going to deploy the capability into use, but after we deploy into use, we expect some good things to start happening, good things, and we call those good things outcomes, and those outcomes can eventually be measured in terms of benefit. So, for example, one of those outcomes that we expect from this entire program, because this is a program benefit map. We expect outcomes like cross-selling of products. We expect outcomes like customer buy package deals. Now, for a CRM project manager, she is thinking, I'm making the cross-selling of product happen. But she may have forgotten that she cannot do that alone by herself. She needs to work with the process project, because technology will not work without processes. And technology, even if we've got the technology, we've got the processes, it will not work without people. Right? So that means we need to change people's job description. We need to possibly motivate people in order to go sell. Because if all of those don't happen, we can't put the CRM in place. But at the end of the day, we wouldn't get the value that we're looking for. So now PMI is shifting the entire focus from thinking about output, thinking about deliverable. Now we're thinking about how do we make the outcome happen in real life, in BAU, in operational side of things. Because if those don't happen, then we do not get the benefit. So let's assume that the benefit, that's what we call value. And value is a big, big, big deal within the PMBOK 8th edition. Value delivery. So value here is in terms of benefit. So imagine our benefit is sales of existing product increased by 20%. All right, sales of existing product increased by 20%. None of these three projects, none of them can deliver that value. But all of them, or each of them, must think holistically that they need to work with other people for that benefit to come through. So we're looking for more holistic thinkers. In fact, generally, when it comes to competencies or power skills, we call these system thinkers or system thinking competency. So can you think in systems, not just narrow tunneled, right? So these are the core additions or core emphases within PMBOK version 8. Okay, right, I will come back to that. Absolutely, yes. Okay, next is outcomes, but I've mentioned AI automation. So within the new exams, within the new exam questions, there is no particular exam question or areas of exam called AI. It's just that AI is going to be woven into many of those questions, and they expect that real life you're going to use AI to automate or generate report. So many of the tools that we use today, whether you use Microsoft Project or Microsoft whatever, you use Jira, you use Confluence, you use Monday.com, you use Asana, all of them have this automation aspect of them, where project managers can create workflows. For example, I may get AI to pull data from my schedule, that's my Gantt chart, from different pages on my Confluence page and different pages or different folders on our shared folder drive in order to generate a report. So instead of me doing that manually, project managers now automate their work. So if you have not got to that level where you're learning AI to automate your work, probably you are back in 20th century. Okay, so the exam as well is going to test you on that. So the exam is going to provide you with some screens, which I'm going to talk about very soon, to give you some pictures. But most of those pictures are taken from the textbook, from PMBOK, for you to be able to make sense of whatever is happening within those questions. But generally, the entire point is that you cannot escape it. AI is here to stay. And in order to drive your own efficiency and productivity, you've got to use it to create some workflows to make your life easier. And then another one that we've talked about is the sustainability. So I'm not going to waste your time on that. So those are the three major content upgrades. The rest are just pretty much like what we've got in PMBOK version 7. Okay, so that is the first aspect, PMBOK content, okay, ticked off. And then the second part is the exam itself, because yes, it's good to read the PMBOK. And I know PMBOK is not just about the exam, it's pretty much a body of knowledge to really empower practitioners like ourselves to be able to execute or implement project successfully. But for you to carry that badge, is pretty much like the best certification badge that you can wear. I mean, you can have on your name or on your CV or LinkedIn profile. For you to carry that, you've got to pass an exam. Okay. So what do we have in the exam? Okay, so let's quickly talk about the exam. But before I jump into talking about the exam, like I said before, as a project manager, we expect you to be professionals. In fact, the name of the certification itself is Project Management Professional. But let's just focus on, so let's write it, Project Management Professional. Okay, professional. Now, just zero in on the word professional. This can be any professional. This can be medical professional, can be procurement professional, can be finance professional, whatever it is, right? Provided you are a professional, we expect you to have, or we expect you to be T-shaped. And I'm very sure many of you know T-shaped, all right? So we expect you to be T-shaped, which means as a professional, you must have some general skills. So those general skills are what we call power skills. So they're pretty much like leadership skill, but these days we call them power skills. Power skills. Or we used to call them soft skills. But they're not really soft, to be honest with you. They are power skills, because when you have them, you work with so much authority, and in fact, people can recognize your executive courage. So leadership skill, which are power skill, we expect people to have that, and that used to be called soft skills. And we expect you to, at the same time, understand strategy and business management. So you should understand business itself. I mean, how do we manage business? Business acumen. You should understand numbers. You should understand how organizations come up with strategic objectives, because every project you are involved in is going to support or contribute to the organization achieving its strategic objective or its overarching strategic objective. So we expect every project manager to have those skills. So if you have not been developing your competencies around leadership, around strategic and business management, oh yeah, you've got to reconsider. Whether you write the exam or not is irrelevant. But if you have chosen to be a project manager, you have chosen to be a program manager, absolutely, you've got to develop your leadership skill, and you've got to develop your strategic and business management skill. Now, as a professional, you must be good in something. I mean, in one particular area. For example, this is the domain. That is your area. That is your technical expertise. Project management is technical for you. So there are some core uh, skills or competencies that you must have. So you must have very deep expertise in those things. Now, those deep expertise are what we call, let me quickly go back to what we said earlier. These are the 7 performance domain. I mean, those are the domain areas. So we expect you to be, like I said before, expert in governance, expert in scope management, expert in schedule, finance, stakeholder, resources, and risk. You must be expert in those. You must have deep technical expertise in those 7 areas. So let's put times 7 domain areas here. Okay, so if you're not an expert in that, then we cannot really entrust project to you, because you're going to mess everything up. All right, so PMI talks about this triangle, that a good PM is going to have that, and that. Okay, now, and that's the way the exam is structured as well. So the exam is structured around leadership around technical, and around business and strategy. Yeah, so still that triangle, because if you cannot demonstrate those competency areas, man, we cannot trust you, mate. You're right. Okay, so version 7, version 7, 42% of the exam questions, they come from people side of things, and 50% come from the technical side, that's the process side, and only 8% came from business environment. That's pretty much like business acumen. But so for people that will still be writing the exam up to the 8th of July, they're still gonna have those weightings in the exam 180 exam questions. They are weighted pretty much like that. Okay, now from 9th of July, things have changed. Okay, now they kind of wanted to balance them out, because we cannot really say that one area is bigger than the other area, because if you get the project done and you forget about the entire business aim or the business objective for even getting the project done, you've just done nonsense, right? So now people side 33%, process is being reduced to 41%, but you can't just see a massive, very very massive jump from 8% to 26% when it comes to business acumen. So the exam is more the exam questions are more balanced now, and before it used to be that about 60% of the questions, I mean, before, 60% of the exam questions in total as well were kind of predictive, like waterfall, and 40% were agile. 40% agile, 60% waterfall. But now they've just switched it over, so now it's only 40%. Hey, sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Okay, that's a wrong information. 50%, 50%. Okay, all right. So, but now they've just increased the agile side of things. So, agile, that's adaptive, agile, hybrid, 60% of the questions, and only 40% will be based on waterfall. And this is kind of taking into consideration our reality today, that there are so many agile projects out there. If almost every project we have one aspect of agile to really help deliver the project successfully. So and the exam as well is taking that into consideration. So the weightage from those domains have changed. The focus in terms of agile, waterfall kind of scenario that they provide as well has changed. So a lot of things are changing now. For each of those domain areas, we talked about the domains. For each of these domain areas, that's the leadership, process, and business, or whichever one you call it, whether people, process, business, whichever one we call it. But those three areas in the PMBOK, we've got a very good explanation of them, because the PMBOK itself is like a playbook. All right. So it tells us how to play the game. Project management is a game. So without the playbook, we cannot play it. So PMBOK has the domain, and then talks about the task that you need to perform as a project manager, and the examples of work associated with each of those tasks. So what you are supposed to actually do within each task. For example, it may be people domain, and one of those tasks that you need to carry out is to help ensure knowledge transfer. Possibly at the end of a phase, or at the end of a project, or at the end of a time box or sprint. So you may need to transfer knowledge from the external vendor to the internal guys, so that they will not just run away with their knowledge. Our internal people can carry out some of the works that had been carried out by the external vendors. All right, so the enablers, that's the detail, will be number one, let's even gather the knowledge, and let's foster an environment where people will be more open to sharing those knowledge, because sometimes people see knowledge as power, so they feel if they let the knowledge go, they've let power go. So how do we create an environment that will get people to be relaxed and to even wanting to share their knowledge with other people? So these are the kind of examples of how the domain and the task and the enablers are arranged in the PMBOK, which is a fantastic playbook for every project manager. Okay, so I took a screenshot from the ECO. That's the exam content outline. And so this is what we have in the ECO. So we've got the business side, we've got the technical side as the process side, and we've got the people. We've got the people side. So from the business side, we've got 8 tasks, and from the process side, we've got 10 tasks, and from the people side, we've got 8 tasks. And then within each of those tasks within the domain, then we've got what you are supposed to be doing. Those are the enablers, what will enable you to fulfill the objective of those tasks and ultimately the overarching domain objective. Right. So these are real competency areas. So if you are looking at developing your competency, in fact, you can pick each of them. If you can't do each of these things, I'm telling you, you're going to be a great project manager anywhere in the world, right? Not just in Nigeria or UK, anywhere in the world. Okay, so what about the exam questions? Version 7 has 180 questions, and 175 of the 180 questions are scored. But now they've changed that. It's still the same 180 questions, and 170 will be scored now. So there are 10 of them that are just pre-test, so they wouldn't be scored. Okay, so only 170 are scored, and you've got 4 hours. 4 hours, and those 4 hours, they are cut into 3 sections. So you've got 2 breaks, 2 10-minute break in between. So at some point you're going to just have a compulsory break, then another 10-minute break again. All right. So I know it's a long, quite long exam, but those breaks can really help. I mean, at least just to catch your breath as well. Okay, so that is just a little bit about the exam. Nothing so much had really changed in terms of the quantity or the numbers. All right, but what has changed a little bit, or what will change a little bit, is the case study chains. So they can give you a case study, pretty much like CBAP. For anybody that had written CBAP here, that's the Certified Business Analysis Professional exam. So you can have one pager, that's max, 1 page, 1 A4, or half page, half A4 page case study. Then that can then drive the next 5 questions or the next 10 questions. So that is being introduced right now. Okay, and then you're going to have some graphic interpretation questions as well. Like I took some screenshot from the ECO. This is an example of a case study. So this is pretty much like half a page, half A4 page, where they describe a particular scenario, and then they can ask quite a number of follow-on questions. Maybe 3, maybe 5, maybe 10, I don't know. For example, this particular scenario says a project manager is working for a company that is launching a new smart home device designed to improve energy efficiency. So the product aims to help. I mean, so even as we read right now, you can see some keywords like the product, and that's why before we talked about product life cycle. So you need to understand product life cycle. I mean, look at that energy efficiency, that sustainability, so woven into the scenario or into those case studies will be all of those concepts, and as you read them, you need to be interpreting them. Oh, okay, that is sustainability, that is product life cycle, aims to help consumers reduce their energy consumption. Now, that reduced energy consumption is the outcome, that is the outcome that this project must deliver. So as you read, they wouldn't tell you this is an outcome or this is sustainability. So you should be able to interpret it, right? Depending on who you train with. But if you train with Rebecca, I'm telling you, you're going to be able to do all of those. So the product aims to help consumers reduce their energy consumptions automatically, adjusting heating, cooling, and lighting based on occupancy and time of the day. So the project manager has been given a budget of $500,000 and a timeline of 6 months, to complete the project. So immediately we can see that triangle there. We know the scope of the project, what they're trying to do. We know how long it's going to take, and we know how much it's going to cost, And so the project manager has been given that budget. So the project team consists of, then they're talking about people and so on and so forth. And then the recent market analysis show a growing demand for eco-friendly products, sustainability again, but competition is fierce and with several established brand already in the market. And this is now you can't see they're talking about competition there, so that takes us back to the business environment. That's the business acumen, being able to understand competition, understand the external environment, what are the major factors driving changes in the external environment, and keeping an eye on that in your project. So the case studies are there to kind of put you in a situation where they want to create a situation that is as close to real life as possible, because they do not just want to test the memorization of PMBOK. All right. So this exam is not a memory test. It is an application test. All right. So, and that's what they are trying to do. Then you can see the next sentence is, additionally, the company has set a goal to achieve 10%, to achieve 10% of market share. Again, back to business, right? So you understand how businesses work. You understand how market share work. You understand how competition works. And as a project manager, you are stepping in to help contribute to your organization's strategic objective. So they expect you to understand those as you read those case studies. So the engineering team has identified several technical challenges. Again, you can see quite a number of risks coming through here now, including wherever. Then I'm going to jump to the next one. The marketing team is tasked with creating a compelling campaign, and the sales team, so you can see that you've started allocating work. So that next paragraph is talking about the execution of the work, who you've delegated the work to. Then they ask whatever question they want to ask. All right. But the most important thing is that a very big part of the exam is going to be based on case studies and scenarios. Okay. Then another part of the exam, which is only available on CBT, but I'm very sure many of you will be writing CBT. You're not going to be writing the paper-based exam, because some people are allowed to write paper-based exam in some countries. Okay, so that is enhanced matching. So you're going to be given diagrams like these, and you're going to be expected to be able to interpret that. Because if you use, for example, you use Jira, so you're going to have your burn down. This is a burn down chart. So you should be able to interpret burn down chart. So if you cannot interpret burn down chart, then you cannot claim that you are an agile project manager, because PMBOK covers agile project management a lot. In fact, like we said, 60% of the total 180 questions will be coming from agile. So you should be comfortable interpreting agile diagrams. For example, all the diagrams or the chart or the chart that we have in Jira, for example, right? So some questions will look like this with diagram, and some questions will be based on graphics. So they're going to give you some graphics, like just a screenshot. This is a screenshot of RTM, that's requirement traceability matrix, and then they can ask you questions on the matrix or on the graphics, whatever graphics they decide, whatever graphics they decide to use. All right. So the exam question style is changing. Then there will be multiple choice, single response. Like ABCD, no more ABCD. Pick one option. Or there will be multiple response questions. Like we've got question on top. Let's call that Q. Then we've got A, B, C, D, E. So we've got option. And here they may ask you to select 3 options, or they may ask you to select 2 options. So if you miss any of those, then that will come towards your final score. So this may be multiple selections, and then there will be no more objective test, ABCD, ABCD, where you are allowed or where you are expected to pick only one option. And then sometimes as well, they can't even ask you to point and click, so they can't ask you to click somewhere, like whereabout will the project have spent an amount of money and consumed 1% of whatever. It can be anything. But the most important thing is that it's not just objective test, because it can be quite boring as well, just reading text, in as much as, yes, you're going to read a bulk of text when it comes to those case study questions, but there are some fun part of it as well that really touches on how people actually work and the tools that we use on a day-to-day basis. And then another one is matching. So matching can be in terms of role. Here we've got some roles like portfolio manager, program manager, functional managers, and some other stakeholders. And then we've got some descriptions of those guys that they want you to drag and drop. So it's like you drag in the right you're dragging the right statements that align with any of those into their boxes. So there are quite a number of question styles that will be used in exam. And the last one is pull down list. So they can ask you, for example, here the plan includes the activity, estimated duration, and dependency. So select which plan includes that. Which plan includes activity, duration, and dependency. As many of you who had attended the course will know, that will be schedule, because that's the schedule talks about activity, time, and dependency. That's your Gantt chart. That's where your Gantt chart is included. Okay, all right. So these are the kind of question styles that you will definitely encounter in your PMP exam. All right, so PMBOK ticked off, and exam question styles ticked off. So the last part is who can deliver this training, and then, or how can you be eligible, or are you eligible to even take this course? Are you eligible to take the exam? So one of those things that have changed as well is that they've increased the eligibility criteria. For example, it used to be like two. It's either you are a graduate. So if you're not a graduate, then they expect you to be a secondary school certificate holder. Then different conditions then apply to different categories of people. But now we've got more categories just to make it more inclusive, because we know that the world today is moving on from universities. When you look at the Western world, a lot of people are complaining about the loan. That's the university loan for students. So a lot of people are not really opting to go to uni, but that does not mean that they do not have the skills, or that does not mean that they do not have the skill required to be able to sit this particular exam. All right, so we've got quite a number of things now. So I'm just going to go bottom up, because that's the top down actually. So that is bachelor or postgraduate degree. So they expect you, if you fall into that angle, into that space, awarded by an accredited PMI body. So that is another thing that you then need to check, whether the university you attended is among this list, and whether you took the course they expect you to have taken. Because some people actually, they attended uni where they studied project management as a course, or where they studied project management as master's degree. But again, it's not just any project management master's degree course. It's about whether it's been accredited or approved by PMI. Okay, so if that is the case, such individual need only to prove that they've got 24-month experience, as 2-year experience, and be able to demonstrate those experience over the last 10 years. The project that they've managed over the last 10 years, but only 2-year experience is required. Then we've got bachelor degrees from anywhere. So that was the one that we used to have. Then that you need to demonstrate 3-year experience. That's 36 months of non-overlapping project experience. And so for you to really understand that, there are many of my colleagues, a few of my colleagues within Arabica, that will be happy to support you to make sure that they assess your eligibility and they advise you on which of these boxes that apply to you. All right. So because I may not really have the time to listen to everybody to really assess whether you fall into any of these boxes. All right. But another one is associate level, higher certificate, or advanced technical or vocational, because a lot of people are opting for vocational degrees these days, or vocational certificates. So that's level 5. For example, in the UK we call it I've forgotten what they call it now. It just jumped out of my brain, but level 5. So for those people, for the people that fall in there, that'll be 48-month or 4-year experience. That is what is needed over the last 10 years of their life. Project managers experience out of the last 10 years, because you may have been doing some things over the last 10 years, but you did some project 6 years ago, and then you jump into something else, non-project work over the last 4 years. But provided you did 4-year project experience over the last 10 years, you still qualify. And then lastly, people who have secondary school certificate, 60 month, or that's 5-year non-overlapping project experience over the last 10 years of their life. Okay, so now you can see that eligibility has been extended to 10 years. It used to be 7 years, so that's good, because a lot of people have done project like 7 years ago, 9 years ago, but now they're not fully really involved in projects any longer, and they still want to write the exam. So this has really helped them to not miss out of writing the PMP exam. All right. So the training requirements. First, you must meet, that's eligibility or requirement 1. Then the requirement 2 is that you need to have 35 hours of commercial training in project management. 35 hours. There are quite a number of people that can provide those hours. So we've got some people that are PMI ATP. We used to be, but we opted not to be any longer. And the reason is it doesn't really have so much value to us, but it kind of increases our cost. So for example, minimum, if we become ATP today, for you to write the PMP exam in Nigeria, your cost immediately from PMI lands with 200,000. So before we even had our training fee, so for example, if we charge 250,000 right now, it means our training will go up to 450 immediately, because the landing cost itself is 200,000. So it doesn't make sense. And I cannot see there's no value it adds. It's just paying them. And we know the economic condition of the country, so we opted not to be a PMI ATP. I mean, it is a conscious effort, because we're going to have to pass the cost to you. Not because it's tough. It's just to pay them the money. They check the certificates, and then that's it. All right. But there's nothing anybody misses out. So we chose to go with these categories, these 2 categories. That is the training companies or consultant training school. Yes, we meet that. And then number 2, self-paced on-demand training courses. We meet that as well. So we have chosen to go there, and that will be accepted as the proof of your at least 35 hours of commercial training. All right, so you missed nothing out there. So you got that ticked with us. And then what we're going to give to you. Why do we believe that whatever we're doing makes sense? 1, we still going to have the live training, but the certificate that we're going to give you, let me say that very clearly right now. The certificate that we're going to give you is going to be based on our LMS. Why? Because for us to be able to give you a certificate that says live training, right, we must become ATP. Because they feel that anybody can join a live training around the world. But it's just going to increase your cost in Nigeria. That's it. And we only train people mostly in Nigeria. So why do we want to add that cost? But at least we're allowed to use our on-demand LMS. We've got LMS. I spoke on that LMS. Very detailed. We've got all the materials you need to pass the exam. We've got a lot of practice questions. We've got the mock exams there. In fact, multiple mock exams in there. We're going to add more to it. So you've got everything you need for no additional cost. And that's the entire point, because we're asking ourselves, why do we need to carry that cost, or why do you need to carry that cost? So same training, and we're going to give you that full LMS support, and your official certificate is going to be based on the fact that you've completed our on-demand course, so that when you're completing your application, you're not feeling live training, you're feeling LMS training. Otherwise, because if you are not ATP and you feel that, you've only attended live course, your application will be rejected automatically. All right. So when you applying for the exam, we're going to be there to guide you. We're going to be there to advise you on how to complete the form. And we're not lying. We're just telling you what we have given you. We have given you for double value. Normally the LMS is one value and the live is one value, but the one accepted by them is the on-demand one. So that is the one that we're going to select on the form. Okay. So what that means for your PMP is that if you go with Ari Baker, if we become your training provider, you lose nothing, you gain everything. In fact, you gain double. All right. So 2 paths, because of time, 2 paths for people, because we have 2 categories of people here. Number 1, we've got people who had attended our course, over the last 2 years or 1 year or a few months ago, and you've been preparing for the exam, you're like 70%, 80% ready for the exam, I will advise that you book your exam before 8th of July. Get it done. Because you do not want the material that you have right now, you do not want to start thinking about PMBOK version 8, reading that and trying to find a gap. So get it done as soon as possible. But if you've not gone too far, even if you have attended the course and you've not gone too far, or you're considering attending a PMP course, then I will advise that you go with Part B, which is just attending a fresh training so that you got the PMBOK 8th edition, and everything that you're learning is based on that. Okay, so two paths that you can take. Right. So I think I forgot to add this survey. I wanted to add it, but I forgot to add it. That which course would you be interested in? Now that one is 5. I see 5. Which course would you be interested in today? But if you can drop that in the chat, that would be good. So would you be interested in taking PMP with us, or BA? I mean, that's CBAP or Prince 2, Agile, whatever course, Scrum that you want to take, please drop that in the chat. Now it's time for question. All right, it's time for question. I think that was a question from Jude. So the question was, or the comment was that, so outcome can be considered the project objective? Not fully. Yes, it's like the next step to the project objective. So we have the project objective, but the outcome is the observable. That is the observable behaviors that we want to see in BAU after the project is finished. What exactly do we want to see? So and the project value is the benefit, because how do we then measure the impact of that observable behavior? So for example, let's assume that the observable behavior that we want to see is that we want people to cross buy, or we want our salespeople to be able to cross sell. So if you come for PMP, we should be able to cross sell to you Prince 2, cross sell to you Scrum, cross sell to you BA. So that's cross selling. So let's assume that we've put a capability in place, a system, a CRM in place to help our salespeople to be able to cross sell to you. So the outcome is going to be that we see a lot of people buying other products, other courses after the initial one that they come for. So how do we then measure that? So the value is going to be measured in terms of revenue growth. So how much revenue are we expecting? Or the value is going to be measured in terms of profitability growth. So outcome is the behavior that we can observe, and the benefit is how we quantitatively measure the outcome itself. I hope that helps. Okay, so there's another comment here as well that says the 8th edition new intro seems additional, more task indeed. More task indeed. Do you advise professionally if one can crash over the exam within the remaining days once PMI has given approval, waits 9? Does he need to start all over again? To be honest, like I said before, if you feel like 80% ready, you can't do like a marathon. Push yourself over the next 1.5 weeks or 2 weeks and get it over with. But if you've not gone too far, I will say that it's better you probably pick up the 8th edition. But nothing much has changed, because at the end of the day, right, if you think about all of this AI thing, sustainability thing, they're just normal things. So if you have been managing project, there wouldn't be like fundamentally different thing. Like, oh, it's so new. It's not so new. It's what we experience every day. It's what we listen to in the news every day. So I wouldn't say it has fundamentally changed. No, not at all. Not at all. Will this recording be accessible after the session? Absolutely yes. That one is a yes. Kindly tell me more about Scrum certification. Okay, so if you want to know more about Scrum certification, it's one of the most used agile frameworks in the world. So we take that over 2 or 3 days. So this particular webinar, because it's 1 hour, I wouldn't like to take time to start explaining Scrum, but please, Ibukun, we're gonna get back to you. Some of my colleagues on Discord, they're gonna take your detail and come back to you on Scrum. But it's just one of those agile frameworks. So many people work as Scrum Masters, and at least pretty much like to get your foot in the door. You need to at least understand the Scrum for you to be a Scrum Master, and you do not need to be a Scrum Master for Scrum to be useful to you. But one of those things, Rachel, I can see that you raise your hand. I'll come to you just one sec. So one of those things that Scrum does is pretty much I tell people when I teach it. It is team management. If you're a team leader, you're a team lead, and you want to know how to coordinate your team very well, how to empower your team, how to make sure that your team keeps delivering value. Whether you work in operations or you work in project or you work anywhere, I don't care. If you look after a team, Scrum certification is for you. All right. So consider that. And do not just when you look at Scrum, do not look at it from agile angle. Just look at it from I'm responsible for a team, whether a team of 2 or a team of 3 or more. I'm responsible for a team and I want to be effective. I want them to be productive. Everything you need to make a team productive is in Scrum. All right, I hope that answers the question. All right, so another question says, can I just have the new training access on LMS and at what cost? Okay, we'll come back to you on that because we're gonna refresh what we have currently on the LMS to make it compliant with version 8, because one of those things that they're going to ask you when you're completing your PMP application is the curriculum. So the curriculum must match what we have in PMBOK version 8 and the ECO. So we're still updating that, but that is going to be ready very, very soon. And we're going to come back to you on that, Sheson. And I'm very sure my colleagues are here. They're taking note of your detail, and we're going to come back to you on that. So I already attended the training on PMP based on 7th edition in a year back. Okay, but I would love to have access to the new training and sit for the exam. Okay, yes, but in terms of content in itself, those domains will not really change. But yes, reorganizing, yes, and then adding few content about AI or directing to where you need to read in PMBOK in the appendix about AI. Absolutely, yes, that will happen. All right, but definitely we'll come back to you on that. And since you've done training with us before, so it's easier to come back to you. Okay, all right. So some people are interested in PMP in Scrum. So please, my colleagues, please take note of that. And same question to have access to the LMS. Yes, we're gonna come back to you on the question to the LMS. Absolutely, yes. Okay, Rachel, please go ahead. Rachel, you raised your hand. Okay, maybe I've answered that question already. Okay, so I hope I've been able to answer some of your questions or at least summarize what had changed. Yes, Helena, please go ahead.
Hello. Hello, good morning.
Helena, please go ahead.
Can I go ahead?
Yes, please. I mean, I think Helena raised her hand first, but please go ahead. Yes.
Because you are just like wrapping up, so that's why I started. I want
Yeah,
to
please
ask
go ahead.
just a question.
Mhm.
People that have trained with you people and unable to meet up this deadline pertaining on the 9th,
Mhm.
are they going to roll over again and do another training before they can be able to take the exam again? Or they can
I
go
wouldn't
ahead
say.
and process?
I wouldn't say so. I would say that the best way to go about that is going to be that you take I mean, when we update the LMS fully, it's just to go through the LMS because you already have you already have access to the LMS anyway. Because if you have done training with us before, you're going to have access to the LMS. So it's just for you to go through the LMS, which is not fundamentally going to change like transformationally, So you wouldn't need to attend the training again now. No.
Then, but
Okay.
just like somebody that have gotten approval and maybe got that 70% because after the video tips, I've been taking time to read Rita and understand Rita. But my question is that can I be able to within the next 1 week give it a shot and succeed on that, or a professional advice on it?
Um,
Because the dollar is much.
Yeah, so it's quite difficult to answer the question. And the reason I'm kind of hesitating to answer that question is that I don't know. I don't know where you are. I've not tested you, and I'm not you. If I were you, I may have said, "Oh, I'm gonna just stay up all night." I'm a night owl sometimes when I'm preparing for exam and wake up very early and do some crash stuff and do this and do that. So I don't know. But one thing we normally tell people in our classes is that if you go through the questions on our LMS and you've been consistently scoring 80% to 85% on those questions, maybe you're ready. Yes. So that is one of those indicators that almost at no time have I ever experienced somebody on the entire question, not just some of them, the entire questions on our LMS, you've been consistently scoring 85%. You are ready. So if that is true, I would say yes. But if that is not true, then no. Does that make sense?
Okay, thanks so much.
Right, no problem at all. Good, good. Adekemi, please go ahead.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Good. We have some of us. Okay, let me speak to myself that I've registered for so long, like last year, but due to my tight schedule, I have been unable to like lay my hands on this thing to write. And I think something around early this year, we were gracious to have a revised class. Like, okay, we could join the class again with another PMP training section. Do you understand? Which I was opportune to. No, no, no. Sorry, not that we were. Now I can remember. I was unable to complete the first training section, the one I registered for last year, which I quickly informed you guys. And happily, you guys enroll me into the to I mean first session you guys have this year. I was
Mhm.
part of it, yeah. And I've not yet been able to like write the exam. So my question is, uh like, I've completed the session, but it's just because I'm not ready. I was not
Mhm.
fully participated in the class due to my tight schedule, working
Mhm.
and all that. So my
Mhm.
question is, in the next PMP training,
Mhm.
so are we allowed to join, and what will be payments?
Um, I
The,
think, to be
yeah,
honest with to be honest with you, we've
yeah,
not we've not thought about that. So if I
yeah.
give you anything now, it should be something I'm just giving you
But
out
but
of.
but you now understand that we still have some of us that we completed our
Yes,
first training. Do you
yes,
understand? But we
yes,
may
yes,
still need to join. Yeah.
yes, yeah. I do
Okay.
understand,
So you
and I'm
you
going to
will
take into
contact us.
consideration.
All
Absolutely,
right.
yes. Oh,
All right.
yes, yes.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
All right, no problem at all.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Okay, good, good. And so, oh, Rachel, you've been speaking, but we couldn't hear you. Rachel, do you want
Sorry,
to
can,
try again? Oh,
yes,
yeah, we can hear you.
oh, thank God. Good
Fantastic.
afternoon. Thank you so much for the section so far. It's been very insightful. So, my first question, I want to know if there's a group for everyone for this new edition, this eighth edition, because I don't want to rush this exam, and I don't know why I've been feeling so nervous. I don't want to rush it, so I want to take my time because I know for sure I will miss this July 8th end date. So I want to ask, do you guys have like a group we can actually join for those that will start this training, this for the next edition? And then materials, okay, you already discussed that about the materials and the rest. So that's my question. Thank you.
Okay, so Rachel, yes, we've not created a group yet, but as you have suggested, that's a great one. Thank you very much for that. We're going to create a group for that. So at least from the people who may have started their journey and now they want to, they cannot write the exam, they cannot write the version 7 exam, so they're preparing for version 8 exam. So yeah, we're going to have a group for that. Absolutely, yes, we're going to do that. And yeah, yeah.
Okay, so this recording, so how are we going to get this particular recording for today's class, today's section?
Think it's going to be on YouTube. Yeah, it's going to be on
YouTube.
YouTube. Yeah.
So am I searching with?
I think for everybody that attended, when we upload that on YouTube, I think latest on Monday, we're going to send the link to everyone. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much. Because I really want to
Fantastic.
pass my exam for
Yeah,
all.
you will pass. I'm
That's why I'm
telling
asking.
you, you will pass. Yes, 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 yes.
Okay,
Interesting. All right.
thank
Thank
you.
you very much, Rachel. All right. Fantastic. All right. Good. So we've got Geoffrey. Please assist with the information on cost again. Please, my colleagues on the call, please, can you send the cost again? All right. Sorry, because I've not even checked the cost for quite a while, to be honest with you. Um, then she said, I've missed the early part of the class. Please, will you be sharing the recording? Absolutely, yes. So we're going to be sharing the recording. It's Arabica Training YouTube. But like I said, because you are here, so we know the people that are here. So we're going to send the link, that's the YouTube link to everyone that attended. And if you do not see it by Monday afternoon, just drop us a chat or come to our website, chat with us. We're gonna send you the link, but the link is gonna definitely be on YouTube because I'm recording it. So yeah, we're gonna download from Zoom and do all the uploading and all of those. Yeah. Okay.
Good
Okay.
afternoon, sir. Can you hear me?
Good afternoon. Yes, I can hear you, ma'am. Yes, go ahead.
All right. I raised my hand earlier on before the first guy spoke. Thank you for the session so far.
No
So
problem at all.
mine is I wrote last year. I took the classes with you, and I wrote around October
Okay.
last year, and I passed. So
Fantastic.
this part that we are having the eighth edition. So my first
Huh.
question is it compulsory for us to like retake the exam, or it still works for with the certificate that we have? And secondly, I know that after 2 years we need to like take 35 PDUs class. So I wanted to know from Arabica how much it costs to actually go through that when the time
Sure.
comes. Yeah.
Fantastic. So Helena, first of all, thank you and well done. Congrats on your success. That's encouraging. Okay,
Thank
so
you, sir.
do you need to take version 8? No, because myself, I think I wrote version 4, so but since then I've just been maintaining my status. So all you just need is the 35 PDU, and one of the ways we or you can't get the PDU from us is to just take another course from us or get our e-learning. Our e-learnings are they're quite affordable. I don't want to use the word cheap. They're quite affordable. So you can't take like Scrum, but the PDU needs to meet the triangle. Let me bring the triangle again. So when you get in that 35 PDU, so there is a certain percentage of it, which I've forgotten on top of my head right now, a certain percentage of it that must be around leadership. Around leadership, a certain percentage of it must be around business strategic management. Some of them must be around technical management, but specifically, what I can do, please, any of my colleagues on this call, take note. Please work with me. So what we can do is to create a framework as to how our courses or our e-learning, how they map to all of those, and how many PDUs you can claim for each of those. So I'm very sure that is going to really help you. Because since you just passed last year, you still have 3 years for you to renew. For you to renew your your status. So you've still got a bit of time. So we're gonna come back to you on that. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So somebody said I have my. Okay, I think I've missed some few things. Okay. Yeah. Thank you very much for sending the course through. And then we've got the next class as well. All right. I have my Princeton Earned Value Certificate. That's great. Maybe 10 years ago. Oh, that's quite long. Okay. What exam can I do to maintain my certificate? So that means your Prince 2 must have expired. All right, because Prince 2 expires as well. So you definitely, if it's 10 years ago, Prince 2 had changed, so now we are in Prince 2 version 7, so you may need to take that again. And earn value, I'm not sure whether you need to see that again. So it's not just this one is not, Prince, you can maintain it, but you can only maintain it if it has not expired. But 10 years ago, no, it has expired. Okay. So what we can do is to pick up this conversation outside of this particular session, so that I wouldn't just tie everybody down talking about Prince 2. All right. Shimedu, I hope that helps a little bit. Yeah. Right, fantastic. Good. All right. I think that's about all the questions. Like I said earlier, if you've got any question outside of this, please get in touch with us. We are happy to have conversation with you at any time. That's where we exist. We exist to deliver training to help people or to empower people, know more, do more, because the more you do more, the more the more happy, the more happy we are. Okay. So thank you very much for taking time to attend this webinar today. Like we said before, it is recorded, and then we're going to be sending you the recording as soon as we have it uploaded on YouTube. And have a wonderful weekend. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, and bye-bye. And thank you so much for always choosing
Thank you, sir.
Bye-bye.
Thank you,
All
sir.
right. All right. Thank you.
Bye, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Enjoy your weekend, and bye-bye.